Bank. Here he is. Fantastic. Thank you. Brilliant. Please join us on stage. And I know that we're going to have David back on stage as well now. And Alexandru, if you can join us as well. And Dan Todorici. There we are, Dan. Good to have you here, Dan. Now then, I don't want any quarrels, okay? Because I know that we don't have Google Cloud here, or Microsoft Azure here, or IBM Cloud, or Oracle Cloud, or... There's a lot of cloud companies, aren't there?
Well, no.
You're alone. And I know that AWS is having its moment with Microsoft a little bit, no? You'll talk to us about that. You'll talk to us about that? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. We'll see what Raiffeisen says. Okay, we'll see what Raiffeisen says. We'll focus, absolutely. Who all use Microsoft? Oh, shit, no, they don't. Sorry. Now, I think the most important thing about this panel is, a few years ago, and I know that we've got some Ukrainians here in the community, and I think when it comes to AWS and the story about the war in Ukraine and the pivot to cloud in Ukraine, Octavian, did you participate in any of that?
Well, I certainly did my homework because I was really fascinated about what happened there. So I took my time in interviewing the people that were doing this. So I was not per se involved in this, but I really took the time to understand what really happened there. There are really valuable lessons because if you want to speak about this.
Please.
Because you see the tip of the iceberg, that you see the announcements. Like in this case, 3 months, a whole bank is being migrated to the cloud. And in other case, it's, let's say, similar timing, yeah? But what people don't know is that these companies were working with AWS for years. So they were prepared in some shape or form to lift and shift, yeah? Then the modernization came later on. And then also, you know, the cost, they will align, also everything fall into places. So then a couple of years, one of the internal Raiffeisen group discussions, I've seen the RBI director there on stage saying that I was amazed to see that when we normalized the cost, it was cheaper to run in the cloud than the cost that we were having on premise. So that myth is actually true also. It's really amazing. I don't think we have time for this, but I'm really happy to discuss this together with David that has much better perspective on it.
It is a huge story, and it just shows that when a country's banking system wants to go cloud native, it will do it.
Absolutely.
So on that note, over to you.
Thank you very much. So first of all, I would like to thank our keynote speakers. Please give it up to them. Great presentation. Okay, we don't have a lot of time. We have like only 30 minutes. That's why I would like to get to the questions, because we have like a lot of them. We have a lot to cover. And one more thing. So a big thank you to the organizers, because they assembled like a great panel, because you have the bank who moved to the cloud, you have the cloud the bank moved to, and you have the solution provider who basically moves banks to the cloud. So we covered basically everything that is about the cloud and banking. So let me first ask Dan. Dan, as a software provider offering solutions for banks, what do you see on one hand as the main driver, and on the other hand as the biggest challenge for cloud adoption for incumbents?
So I'll start with the drivers, because this is the juicy part, and I want to congratulate Raiffeisen for having a cost reduction and scalability to the cloud. And you also had like this resilience and also recovery when, and I mentioned Octav, that it was per year, 21 minutes per year. So this is top notch. Also, I think that it is very important when you work with Amazon that you have like building blocks, like Lego bricks. You just pick and choose, and you have a variety of solutions that you can put together, that you don't have to build it yourself. Even as a provider, we don't need to build it from scratch. You just need to make it work well together. And as I can see, AI is starting to be a commodity for Amazon because they have Bedrock and they have amazing solutions there. If you try to play around it with these ones, those are crazy. And to go to challenges, I want to be short since we have not too many minutes. Yeah, you mentioned that, okay, it might be cheaper. But as we see with other banks, I will not give names, some are monolithical and they are very hard to move to cloud. It's not a problem itself of how to move it, but then will it work together? What parts you should move? When to move it? And it might be costly from a risk standpoint. Then we also see the lack of knowledge. So even when you look in the market or in some banks, they don't have cloud native, as Alex said, and it is amazing example. If you have a bad driver in a good car, then it acts like a bad car. So you have to have a driving school in place to acquire new talents and to build on top of them. And sometimes, and I know cost may run down, but it has to be business acumen. So if it's inside, for example, for a bank strategy to know best when and why and what is the cost, and if you combine the technology with the cost and with the business KPIs, then it's a successful story, but it's still a challenge. And last but not least, and not disclosed, is regulatory. But as I know, Amazon is always ahead of curve. So when it comes for regulation, even when it was GDPR and everything it comes, but it's still a challenge because you have to keep an eye on the news. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Octavian, so AWS is used by fintechs and banks all around the world. So one of the selling points of AWS is the possibility to replicate infrastructure very easily. But how does AWS help banks and fintechs to comply with different regulations in different jurisdictions?
So in many ways, we have, first of all, a team that is dedicated to constantly speak to the regulators to understand their needs and their concerns and to proactively address them. And then to work with the banks to help them, in particular here in Romania, to build the files that they are applying. So then to make sure that they are compliant. I think the more meaningful help is where we work together to provide trainings, game days, things that we do constantly with Raiffeisen, for example. Yeah? And then where we are not seen necessarily as vendors, but as an extended team. And this is where it works best. But there are also maybe some other takeaways from the Raiffeisen journey that I would like to bring here. Maybe I don't say this enough, that because they are really ahead of the other banks in their cloud migration journey and with visible results, is that they are an ideal customer, that you don't need to convince them with the advantages of cloud per se or cloud migration, yeah? And first of all, they have a strategy at the group level. Do you know how much time it takes to convince the senior executives that it's best that they go on in this journey? That once they are going there, all of them, they are really amazed by the journey that they took. So the best advice I could give is that to keep the board aligned, to stop hesitating and to take that journey. Once they are aligned, they can achieve their goals. If they're hesitating, they're not achieving their goals. Second thing that I've seen in Raiffeisen, which is working really amazing, is their CCOE. That they build at the group level with artifacts that everybody can consume and not reinvent the wheel at the country level. Obviously, they do have the freedom, the liberty to choose whatever they want to prioritize, but they have something to start from. And the guidance, and the security guardrails. And that is an amazing thing to start with. So I would say there are many takeaways from this, but we only have a few times. I would like to leave my friends also to speak as well.
Thank you. Alex is the cloud leader who's basically already on the way of moving like the whole infrastructure of a larger banking group into the cloud. What would be the number one advice you would give to the new incumbent to how to move to the cloud? Besides make it as fast as possible.
Oh, now I understand why it's useful to read the question in advance. So I will try the teenager strategy, which is provide you in 30 seconds or less. It's create a reference architecture. Don't migrate anything until you know how is your landing zone. Because then you would create a zoo of stuff that all of them look differently, and you will not be able to operate them anymore. So before doing any migration, think about what your reference architecture will look like, and then industrialize the migration in a repeatable manner. I think that's the short answer.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. David, as a CTO of a larger banking group with who's moved with the cloud adoption very far already. So what do you think the future holds for the big incumbents that waste their time of not moving to the cloud, and what the future will look like, let's say, in 5 to 10 years? Will it be all cloud, only private cloud?
I think somebody said at a certain point in time, it's very hard to predict the future. So you're asking me now something that is probably very tough. To be fair, I think the speed of innovation that the cloud delivers, I think this will not stop. They have a unique advantage based on their size, skills, their engineers. They build a very strong muscle, so I don't think that this goes away. If I look now you can argue the new kid on the block, AI. I think the majority of the things that we see on the AI side are built on top of the cloud, right? Many of the things, how the models are trained, all those type of things are happening in the cloud. So my assumption is that this will not stop. If I look into the data points of the last years, the cloud growth was still significant, although they are already on a big baseline. And I would be very surprised if this stops on the global market in the upcoming years. And having said that, I think also in Raiffeisen, if we meet again in 5 years, I think there will be still some on-premise state there. I think we have a number of things, core applications that we do not move to the cloud or cannot move to the cloud, they stay there. And so I think this will be smaller. The state on-prem will be smaller, but still there. And I think the pace on the public cloud will stay similar. They have now a huge muscle, and if they don't do something completely wrong, basically, I think they will build on top of that. And if I take the last innovations like AI, let's be frank, many of those things are there because we had the cloud or we have the cloud in place. That would be my short answer.
Thank you. Let's then make I will make the last question to everyone, basically. In terms of cloud adoption and competition, how much do you think the adoption of the cloud contribute to the incumbents being more competitive against the neobanks?
So I think it certainly helps. It smooths the way. Yeah, but really depends on the banks on their own journey that they want to take. Certainly the traditional banks, they don't want to, not many of them, they want to become neobanks. So some of them, they're...
Do they actually hold a chance against the neobank without becoming one?
Absolutely.
I mean, they won't be a neobank anyways, so because they're already existing. What I mean is will they hold a chance to stand against the neobank?
Absolutely. So you see different paths here. So you see big banks that are allowing like an offshoot to fly as a neobank. Others are trying to copy paste, and there's nothing wrong with that. And certainly some of them are adopting their own journey. I don't think there is a single recipe. I think time will tell which one is going to win. Yeah. But definitely cloud adoption, it helps you, absolutely. But it's not the only recipe.
Yeah.
You have
Dan, you moving the incumbents to the cloud, what is your opinion on the cloud adoption and how it helps?
I think, okay, technology is definitely important, as we can see that most of the banks have already an IT department. Some of the banks already have a very cloud-verified, let's just say, team. It's very important to have highly scalable, highly available, and everything to act like a neobank. There was a saying at one of the conferences that I've been to that banks were trying to become as fintechs, and fintechs were trying to get the approval to become banks. So I think they somehow build upon each other, and the market, as diverse as it is, it's more powerful as it is now.
I think from my perspective, if you order something from EMAG now, it will arrive today, maybe tomorrow. If you order something from your IT, from a traditional perspective, you will be served when? 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 months, if it has to be shipped. Using cloud, everything is instant. And I think that's my contribution to the answer.
David?
So I hope the colleagues from AWS are not angry at me, what I'm saying now. I think at the end, it's a rather cool technology, don't get me wrong. But I think, and we have seen this also, we had a lot of bad examples also, not in Romania, but somewhere else. I think you can use the cloud in a way where you stick to your 3-month release cycle, right? It does perfect job, the servers run there, and you do a 3-month release cycle. And with that, you don't deliver any value in those 3 months to your customer. So I think at the end, there are so many ingredients needed to be successful. So having the right people on the job, having probably the right setup also to deliver constant value, but obviously an underlying technology that gives you the ability to have instant infrastructure is very important, but it does not guarantee the other way around that you'll be successful at the end. This will never happen. And as said, we have seen this also in the bank. We had such situations where we sticked to our old behavior and the way how we did things for many years or decades even, just using a new fancy tool called cloud, and nothing happened, right? There was no benefit. So this would be my answer here.
Great. Thank you very much. We're out of time. So, but
One question.
one
from the
question.
audience.
Then we can get like one question from the audience.
Anybody
If
got a
someone wants to
question?
ask something, please.
Can be a hard question.
Please, let it be a hard question.
No one wants to ask any hard. AWS is on stage and no one has a hard question, and there's loads of banks. You're having a good day, mate. That's a good day. Data centers. That's why. Data centers.
Can I have just one question for
Yeah.
Octavian? What the future lies for AWS?
Well, I don't want to bore you with this, but knowing AWS from inside, I think you will be in for a really, really beautiful journey in terms of what they can bring into the table. The kind of innovation and the security. I've been working in cybersecurity most of my career. I haven't seen cybersecurity like this. It's really a monster of innovation, so stay tuned.
Please take us on a journey. Don't take us for a ride.
Thank you.
Super. If you could stay so we can take a picture, yeah? You could just stand and